All right, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Awakening at Night. We're live. What's up, everybody? Whoa. Welcome to. All right, there we go. I haven't added my chat on the screen. Um, I haven't gotten around to that. I'll get it done though. For now, I have my chat going on the side. Um, what's I gonna say? Yeah. So this stream. Last time I talked about the principle of mentalism, and I thought about continuing with the rest of the principles of Hermeticism, and I will cover them just because pretty much everything um, that I'll talk to here is going to relate to, you know, at least one of the seven. But I recently wrote this. Well, I wrote this thing called Avatar: The Last Airbender and the Destruction of the West, and so I wanted to talk about that here. Let's see. If you can hear something in the background, um, that's my wife working on a project. She's so talented. Let's see. I actually meant to start the stream at 11. It's almost 11:30 now, but this computer took like 30 minutes um, to restart. I needed to restart because it was going pretty slow. And even now, there's probably going to be it's probably going to be choppy. Um, my CPU is pretty high, and I'm not really. I mean, I can operate a computer, but I don't really um, know too much about keeping it under a certain CPU usage. I've tried some like getting rid of like background programs and stuff like that, and that seems to help. But um, I'm not really an expert, um, and so my computer is still pretty effective. Let's see. I'm trying to get it to open. I'm trying to get my own music too. I have cause whoa, what's going on? Okay, let's get this thing. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I titled it Avatar: The Last Airbender as a map of consciousness. So let me go ahead and put it on screen now. All right. Avatar: The Last Airbender has a map of consciousness. Okay. Look, I think. Oh. This thing is in the way. I'm in the way, aren't I? Let's go this way. There we go. All right. So in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the whole thing is there's four nations, right? Each nation represents uh, one of the four elements, right? Fire, air, earth, and water. Now these elements um, appear in the occult teachings, right? The every pretty much every mystery school. Um, it's something that goes back. Um, I don't know, since the beginning of time. Who knows? And so these elements, fire represents passion, excitement, imagination. Air represents ideas, logic, communication, and information. And earth represents stability, practicality, physical resources, and how we interact with the world, right? Our behaviors. Water represents the flow of emotions and intuition. And in Avatar, um, Aang's his goal was to master all four elements, right? And through mastering the four elements, he brought a balance, right, harmony to the world. And I make the argument that we're all, in a way, called to master all four elements. And even the show, I think, supports that too. Because in the show, uh, Sokka, which is the only non-bender in the group, he also learns things from every single nation as he travels. He learns their fighting styles, or the principles, stances, and all that stuff. And towards the end, when he trains with one of the um, White Lotus, uh, what's his face, teacher, he teaches him, right, something about every, pretty much from every nation. They follow this philosophy of the way of many places, or something like that. I can't remember, but where they get a little bit of information from here and there, and from everybody, from everywhere. And so Sokka also, he embodies, or he does the same thing that the Avatar does. And Korra, not Korra, that's the second series. Katara, she also learns, things from every other um, um, nation, right? So at the very end, when she's fighting Azula and she freezes both of them in place, she uses her breath. She heats up her breath to melt her section of the ice, and she's able to restrain Azula that way. And she got that from learning from I believe it was Zuko. Um, and so there's, what was the other one? I think when she fights the old lady that was a bloodbender, she used from the Earth Nation. There was a stance in there where she kind of held her ground, and then she became like this wall, and the lady wasn't she wasn't prepared for that, right? Um, and so I say that we're all called to do that too. These four elements, pretty much everything you see here: passion, excitement, imagination, ideas, logic, communication, information, stability, practicality, flow of emotions, intuition, everything. Not one thing is supposed to prevail over the others, right? Like it's when these things are out of sync, when they're out of alignment or out of harmony, then we start seeing all this stuff like anxiety, right? Name any other malady, right? Depression or what would have you. Because whenever we're using all of these as they come up, as we need them in the moment, it really there's nothing but the now. Like there's no when you have all four elements in balance, you're present, right? And in a way, that's all we gotta do. Uh, so the avatar is not one. Like I said, everyone is called to balance all four elements, and these four elements actually correspond very well to the Tao's or the Taoists yin and yang philosophy. So the water and earth correspond to the I believe it's yang, which is the dark side. That's the black part that has the white circle. And then the other one corresponds to air and fire. And it's all the same thing. It's just something that goes through different many different iterations, right, with different names through different cultures and stuff. But it's all the same thing. And you can also find this in the tarot card of the magician. This one here. So in this card, by the way, it's in card number one. In tarot, the deck is usually comprised of two different decks. One being the major arcana, which has 22 cards, and the other one is the minor arcana, which is 56, 50 something. I don't 55. I think 56 cards. I think. And within the major arcana, it starts with zero, with the Fool, and then the Magician is card number one. And everything you see here is it's all symbolism, right? And so if you look on the table, there's four things on there. The pentacle, which is the circle with the star. The pentacle corresponds to earth. The cup corresponds to water. The wand corresponds to fire, and the sword corresponds to air. And so the card of the magician, right? It's the same as the avatar, right? Because the avatar is a master of all four elements, and the magician is as well. The magician in this card, in the context of tarot, the magician has unlimited potential. There's unlimited possibilities, and you can see that because he has the infinity symbol above his head, and that's because he's a master of the four elements. He's got the things, he's got the tools in front of him, and he can create his reality, as he sees fit, or what the pose is really interesting here. You see his pointing up and he's pointing down. That is a reference to actually one of the Hermetic principles, as above, so below, the principle of correspondence. And he knows that which is above is like that which is below, and it's literally is there, right? Because there you got flowers on the bottom, you got flowers on top, and he's pointing as above, so below. If you see, he's wearing a snake as a belt. The um, the belt actually, or the snake itself, the snake biting itself represents oneness, wholeness, and that also corresponds with the number one. It's card number one. So it's heavy with symbolism, which is pretty awesome. I've recently started learning tarot. It's really cool. So I wanted to make that connection. Since I've been learning about this, I wanted to make that connection with the avatar, being the master of the four elements, and going back to the four elements. Um, One really cool way that I've actually found that corresponds all together. That we can uh, uh, be a master of the four elements without really uh, how should I say it, with the least amount of effort or friction possible, and that is there's this formula that I actually got from there's this channeler named Daryl Anka, and he channels this entity known as Bashar. And Bashar, he gives a 5 step formula, and I actually don't want to get it wrong, so let me go ahead and just look it up right quick. It's a 5 step formula, and it contains everything that you need. Uh, um, let's see. Let's see. All right, here it is. Follow. Okay, so one, and this is the 5 step formula. Step one is follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability. Two, act on it fully with no insistence on outcome. Three is maintain a positive state regardless of circumstance. Four, release definitions that no longer serve you. And five, trust that everything is happening for you. That actually doesn't sound correct. Follow the highest excitement to the best of your ability. Act on it fully with no insistence on the outcome. That sounds right. Maintain a positive state regardless of circumstance. Um, and without insisting on the outcome. I think um, that's more like it. Something like that. Don't insist on the outcome. Basically, just do it for the excitement of it. Just because you want to do it, not because you want to see a certain result. And so just do what you want to do. Just do what makes you happy. Act on your passion is what they say. Uh, um, and Yeah, it's act on your passion. It's just more or deliberate, more detailed, so that there is no confusion or no limitations, as it were. Um, Let me go back. Follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability, right? The best you can do. Act on it fully with no insistence on outcome, and maintain a positive state regardless of what happens. And if you just do that, then all the four elements just go into alignment without really putting in too much effort, because it really, you're doing whatever you want, you, within your, like within your soul, what your soul wants to do. You're following what your soul wants to do, and so it's like everything just works as it should be. It's like you have this perfect machine with all these cogs that are, perfectly aligned, that that are um, designed to be the most efficient, and whenever you step away from the formula, meaning whenever you do something because you want to see a certain result, or because it's what you believe you want to do, or what you believe you have to do, rather, or doing um, something because someone told you to do it, even, and you're doing it because you agreed to do it, even though you don't want to do it, because you're you're too agreeable, or maybe you have a low self-worth, or something, and whatever you want to do, you don't allow yourself to do it because maybe you tell yourself that you're not worthy of it, or that XYZ or whatever, and so once you follow the formula, all of that falls away, because you're following your excitement, what you want to do, what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. The thing that, when you do it, time seems to fly by, because it's what's really you. It's what you really want to do in your soul. Okay, I think this. Okay. Anyway, that's all I got. Um, and so, let's see. I've been watching, actually, The Legend of Korra. So, uh, um, I forgot what else I added on the thing. Um, so we're all called to do, the four elements, the master of the four elements. Let's see if I can. Let me grab my paper here. Do 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 do. Okay. Yeah. So the Avatar: The Last Airbender came out in 2005. 2005. It ran from 2005 to 2008. And I think it's really. I don't know if it's uh, uh, so much so that it, like a prediction per se, but it's really, uh, how can I put it? Strange, maybe whimsical would be a way to put it. That the show kind of predicted the next few years, because in 2012, around 2012, is when the culture started to shift, and in so in the show, so the Fire Nation attacks, right, and they basically, they wipe out the air nomads, right, and then little by little, over the next 100 years, they pretty much took over, all the whole world, right, all the nations, and this is the same thing that happened in you know in real life a few years later, basically in 2012. um, if you can call it, the fire, um, the fire element, the passion, excitement, pretty much took over, right? And we couldn't really communicate ideas in like public places at work, that didn't align with um, the vocal minority, basically. And so basically, this turned into a very hostile place uh, um, where conversation is not really allowed. Anytime you say something that is too offensive to some, they'll quickly shut the conversation down by calling names, and try to defame people, and really attack them, personally, um, as opposed to having, a conversation with ideas, being logical, and not letting your passion, your anger, uh, you know, dictate how the encounter goes, or whatever. And so when passion, destroys communication, you end up with, the culture as we had it recently in the last few years. Uh, um, Now, thankfully, I think people are starting to come to their senses, really balance their elements, right? And so there's less and less of of that, anger, passion, except for online, as much. But you don't really, see it as much anymore, right? Before, people, you could see it in when you go to the grocery store, or at work or whatever. Like, people were afraid for a few years to just say anything. And even though that continues to this day, I think, for the most part, I think we're finding a balance, and so I'm grateful for that. That's really cool. And so the show, I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know if I want to call it a prediction. I don't think the show really predicted it, but I do think that the uh, writers were, if not guided, uh, you know, in some sort of way. At the very least, they did their homework, and they presented a masterpiece, honestly. Um, what was I going to say? Where was I? What was the last point I made on Avatar? Um, oh, yeah, so here I talk a little bit about the elements. Fire is raw energy. It provides light and warmth. It is creative energy. What's destruction but another form of creation? You could say it can create destruction, but can also cook your food, right? Fire can be nourishing, like passion, excitement, creating, using creativity, playing, taking risks. Air is your breath. You use it to communicate ideas. It allows for discussion and speeches. It is a conduit to the mind. It can be used to express curiosity, thoughts, information, and logic. By extension, includes media and books. Earth is physical, tangible. You can build and stabilize on it. Physical existence, it requires resources and practicality. Earth's gravity also pulls inward. Water is like a river. You can never step into the same river twice because it's always changing and flowing. Water represents the flowing of emotions. Emotions, like the ocean, have depth. Think gut feelings, and intuition. These four elements must stay in balance to maintain harmony. And so I talked about this. Um, Over the course of the show, the protagonist, Airbender Aang, masters the elements of water, earth, fire, and air. Well, actually, he knew air. While the Fire Nation is on the verge of completing its takeover. While the Avatar is destined to save the world, he is in no way the only one that learns all four elements. To be clear, the protagonist is the only one who learns to bend all four elements, but their supporting cast also learn to incorporate other elements. Sokka, the only non-bender in the crew, learns the combat methods of all nations. Each battle stance is one fraction of a whole. And so, I think earlier I mentioned that the four elements are also correspond to the yin and yang. And so, in that sense, it's actually a lot easier to tell that they're all fractions of a whole. It's not people like to say like, oh, I'm more of this, I'm more of that, and they just don't incorporate all of it, and then they wonder why X Y Z happens, why there's an imbalance in their life. The cat's trying to get in the room. What is it, Money Face? Okay, so there's there's several different psychology models that line up perfectly with this ancient idea of balancing the four elements, even if they don't specifically use elemental language. Carl Jung, for example, proposed that the psyche has four primary psychological functions. They are thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. These match almost identically with air, water, earth, and fire, respectively. Thinking is described by logic, clarity, analysis, and rationality. Feeling is described by empathy, emotional intelligence, and value judgment. Sensation is characterized by practicality, groundedness, and realism and intuition. By and intuition is by inspiration, imagination, possibility, transformation, and vision. What is it, Money Face? Likewise, temperament theory, trauma regulation, or CBT all have their own parallels. When any of these are out of alignment, they create disharmony, just like the Fire Nation. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a revival of ancient knowledge, a story like the oral traditions of old, replete with symbolism and wisdom, like any good story told through laughter and sadness. A masterpiece that will no doubt, through its relatability, stand the test of time, as have the occult mystery schools. What is it, Bunny Face? Alrighty then. Well, I hope you've learned something. If you've stuck around, hopefully the lag isn't too bad. Hopefully, there is a coherent transmission at the end of this. If not, then I'll probably just delete this. Anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for taking your time to be here. I'm so grateful for you. Now it's time for me to go to sleep.